Hello everyone that is still playing Garden Warfare 2 in 2023. My name is Total, as you may already know. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to actually improve in Garden Warfare 2 because I saw that Nixly, who by the way he has an L in his own name, that should have been a red flag right away, posted one of his own. So without further ado, let's get into it. One of the main issues I had with Nixly's guide was that he kind of didn't explain really what it took to improve at the game. He just sort of listed off things that he does, if that makes any sense. He wasn't really elaborating on it. And so I feel like a lot of people could benefit from me actually explaining the things, not just playing overpowered characters to get results, but rather you're actually learning how to play the game at a better and higher level, so that way no matter what character you're playing, you'll do better, you'll improve, you'll start seeing yourself place much higher on the leaderboards after every game. So currently in other actual competitive games, because I don't consider Garden Warfare 2 to be too competitive, I am currently Diamond in Overwatch after only playing for 2 seasons, and a numerous amount of times I've been able to hit champions in Fortnite, which I don't really know if it applies because Fortnite and this game are very different. There's barely any similarities. But I feel like Overwatch is a good sort of, I wouldn't say benchmark, but it's similar enough to Garden Warfare 2 because of the fact there's classes and abilities and different techniques you can learn that'll help you do much better. So take this video from that perspective of like a diamond, almost masters Overwatch player basically, which are the two of the higher ranks you could be, telling you like what you could be doing better to improve on your game. One of the most important things before I dive a little too deep into how do I think you can improve the best is that playing on certain platforms as opposed to others actually does have a pretty big impact on how you'll be performing and what kind of things you could be doing better. So I'm going to be a little biased towards PC because that's the platform I currently play on now and have been playing on for some years now. But I feel like a lot of the things I'll be saying should still apply to PS4 and did apply when I used to play because I used to originally be from PS4. I migrated from there to PC. And I think it's important to distinguish these because of the fact that the player count is significantly lower on PC. There's no doubt about that, and it's kind of more well known. But PlayStation, because it has such a high play count, there's so many different types of people you're going to be able to see and meet and compete against. And whereas PC, you're going to see a lot of the same people, but there is still some new faces every now and then ever since it came to Steam. Another thing is movement. Movement in the two different games is very different, and also aiming. It's a lot easier to aim on a keyboard and mouse as opposed to aiming with joysticks and aim assist, so there's a lot of differences between the two worlds, but at the same core aspect, it is the same game. So I feel like a lot of these tips should still apply regardless of if you're on PC or if you're on console. So when I say cooldowns matter in this game, they really matter. In fact, using your abilities is one of the most important things you need to learn how to do it properly in Garden Warfare 2. For the average player, classes such as the Chomper and the All-Star can hardly function without their abilities, or as I like to call them, the cooldowns. And basically, you're going to be wanting to play around some of your abilities, right, to maximize your effectiveness. So say a pea shooter without his hyper, you're not going to be closing much distance, you're not going to be able to jump up in the air to get people's aim knocked off, if that makes any sense. You're trying to maximize your alive potential, basically. So to become a threat for characters such as the foot soldier without your rocket leap, the same thing as pea shooter without his hyper, you're not going to be closing much distance, you're not going to be able to do a lot of the things that make characters successful. So say you see a pea gatling on a roof and you don't have ZPG, well then that gatling is just going to beam you to death and you can't do anything against it. So basically maximizing the cooldown usage that you can put out and how you can use these cooldowns effectively to secure kills, to escape and disengage from situations where you won't be able to secure kills, such as bean jumping away from a 12v1. You know, you're not going to want to be fighting that alone, so you can use hyper and bean bomb to bean jump out of there. If you didn't have hyper and bean bomb, then you will obviously die, and therefore you can't get any kills when you're dead. So a lot of it comes down to game sense and knowing who you can play against, which segues directly into my next point on how to improve. So when you're playing the game, especially when you're learning and improving, you need to be aware of the matchups that you're going up against, and you need to play accordingly. As a flower, you do not want to bum rush in and fight close range scientists, at least not until you're ready. Staying back with the team, healing, reviving, and poking, as in dealing consistent damage over time, will be the best way for you to be effective as the sunflower. As a cactus, you don't want to bum rush into scientists, get 2-tapped, and then die. Because, like I said earlier, when you're dead, you can provide no value to your team. And to maximize your value and how you perform in game, you're going to want to stay alive, you're going to want to use your abilities, you're going to want to do all of this. But you also want to play your role. You don't want to be just going in and dying because you're playing the wrong character for what you're trying to do. So, an example of basically this, of what I'm trying to say, is the streamer BabyLove1821. Now this guy has been kind of the laughing stock for my content for a while now, but basically I feel like you can learn from this. When he plays, as you can see, he's typically going directly onto the point from boom, and then he dies, and then he respawns and does it again until he captures. And while this may be effective against some players, it is definitely not going to help you improve, and it is definitely not going to consistently put you at the top, because oftentimes he's one of the lower kills in the lobby unless it's just him versus a bunch of random people. And the random people in this game typically are little kids, so obviously they're not going to be doing great. The goal of this video is to help you improve, and if we're here to improve, then we should not be playing carelessly and just rushing in and dying, basically. In Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare 2, it's important to accept that you're gonna die. A lot. And even for players like me, if you have an aggressive playstyle, you just can't overreact when you get locked onto by 12 people at the drop of a hat, because that's just the nature of the game. There isn't that much mobility, there's a high amount of one-shots, there's a high amount of CC and crowd control. So, for example, Chomper's Burrow, getting mid-air burrowed, getting ZPG, getting Huskop, these are all things that are just part of the game. And the important thing is to maximize your effectiveness when you are alive, and to stay alive for as long as possible, which means playing around these abilities as much as you can, because everybody knows mid-air burrows, you know, they get you even if you're playing around them. So there's just some things you can't avoid, and you can't get mad at it. You just got to keep playing, because the only thing you control is your reaction to what happens. How? Okay, no, I gotta get off this game. I gotta get off. I can't. I just gotta chill. So things like playing around cover. People can't Huskop you if you're playing behind a corner, unless, you know, you die to splash damage, which is a whole nother thing. If you're playing with the team, you're a lot less likely to get picked off, because then they're gonna be focusing on other people and not you. And if you're reloading behind corners, you are less vulnerable during one of the most vulnerable stages you can be in. When you're reloading, you have no way to fight back. But if you're behind a corner, you're maintaining the fact that these people cannot put out damage against you, but you're always going to be able to put out damage against them. Things also like summoning heal consumables, so like summoning a heal flower when you're defending as plants, or summoning a heal zombie, which I think are the two best heal consumables you can spawn in. Sure, the heal weed is alright, and sure that the zombie heal station is okay, but they're not the best. And so for those reasons, I think the best heal consumables you can be spawning in for your team are heal flowers, because they put out so much output, and also the zombie heal Harry the Healers, whatever. The guy who raided my Discord server, basically. And also knowing when to disengage fights that you cannot win. So like 1v8s. Sure, you might be able to take down 3, 4, maybe even 5, you know, if you're really that good. But it's really a long shot. You're going to be taking out the whole team on your own unless these people are all really bad, like new players, you know, so you're going to want to disengage with a lot of these fights that are just not winnable. And when you see somebody who's spread out, like a one singular zombie coming at you without completely disconnecting from the team, it's easy to focus him. And maybe if you're in the voice chat, you can also call out, but I don't know, because not many people talk in the Plants vs. Zombies voice chat. Doing all these things will help you stay alive more, and the more you extend your life, the more you can extend your effectiveness, as I've been saying throughout this video. And as you continue to keep playing and keep practicing these tips, over time you'll start to slowly see yourself improve. And maybe even if you're applying these all really quickly, you'll start to see it improve really quickly. But something that's important to keep in mind for everyone of all levels is that learning is not an instant process. It's going to happen over time, it's going to be gradual, you might not even know it, but one day you're going to see the complete just jump in gameplay. You'll be, maybe let's say you're someone who's commonly in the middle of the leaderboard or towards the bottom. I think if you keep practicing these tips and learning more about the game and how it works, you'll start to see a jump from the bottom to closer to the top, and maybe even you'll become one of the top players. So keep in mind, all of these tips are not guarantees, but the more you practice, you know, the more you'll start to see results. And another important fact I think that should be distinguished about results is that results don't always come from what character you're playing, but rather the knowledge you just have on the game. So let's get into that on this next point. So oftentimes in misguided tutorials like Nixly's, you're put under a misconception that using characters like Electro P or Agent P, Super Commando, you know, all the meta picks will somehow make you improve at the game, which is simply untrue, because while these characters are easier and can help you perform better, they do not make you better at the game, because while you're having these easier to play, lower skill floor, kind of high skill ceiling type characters, you're not really understanding what makes these characters and what makes their kits unique, you know. So you can be performing good with Agent P, but you don't really understand how your teammates, you know, how your enemies are playing the game. You're not understanding them at the mental level. So basically, having an understanding of how every character plays, which can be learned through things just like leveling up over time, you know, leveling up your characters, getting them from whatever specialist to master or whatever the hell it is, I don't remember. I haven't played in quite a while. And finding a character you like is basically the key to improving over time, because you don't have to always play the meta picks. In this gameplay I'm showing you guys right now, this is a 96 kill game with stock Sunflower. So I didn't need Agent P to put up 96 kills. I just played Flower, and I revive people, I heal people, and I do everything that you would normally expect out of a Flower. And we won the game, and I finished with 96 kills. You know, I just, by taking all these tips and putting them all into practice at once, even though I'm dying, as you could just see, I died to this all-star, I'm still able to be maximizing the effectiveness of my lives. And this is why you don't need these overpowered characters to perform. You can perform with any character, because all of the top players do it, you know. You have Pistolero the Gun, I'm not sure if he still plays, but on PC he was pretty much the best player, and he would play Moto X Star with Long Bomb and get hundreds of kills. Like he's really good at the game, not having to play these meta picks. So I guess to summarize, just play what you want for whatever reason you want. As long as you enjoy the character and you're having fun, that's really all that matters. And then you're putting these tips into practice, you'll perform no matter what you're playing. But Please don't play fire characters though, because I'm not sure you can really call that improvement if you're relying on the damage over time from an elemental effect to get the kills, and you're not securing them yourself. I mean, you know. So I guess there's some exceptions. Please don't play fire characters. I can't stand them, man. All right, next point. So this point is going to be a little bit of a paraphrase, because if I was to list every single technique you can use and every single little thing that you can implement, this video will be well over 2 hours long, because there are so many things you can do in Garden Warfare 2, and these little tricks and this game sense that you build up over time is pretty vital knowledge, and it helps you win fights against characters that like normally you would never ever have a chance against. So for example, in this gameplay, oftentimes the house right behind me I would use as cover, and even right now, as you can see, I'm trying to get into position where I can shoot them with my beam, but they are unable to shoot me. You can see the green beam is clipping through the wall. This is something called head glitching. So you're moving your head and basically your whole body to where the enemies are unable to see you, but you're able to put out damage against them. While I feel like it's unintended in the game, it would be a pretty simple patch, you know, so I feel like as long as you're taking advantage of what's given to you in the game, it's not really an exploit, you know? Unless you're like deliberately going out of your way to swap teams with the rows and then, you know, doing the team swap glitch, it's just not really like, that's an exploit. But doing things like head glitching and beam jumping, I feel like are completely just stuff you learn over time, you know? So things like momentum carrying, where I've jumped off of slopes to give myself a speed boost, because normally you wouldn't be able to move as fast. So you keep continuously jumping and it builds you up with speed, and you can keep your momentum through doing that. And it makes it so much easier to engage and disengage with battles between, or I guess I shouldn't say battles, but you know what I mean, with combat with your enemies. If you're able to momentum carry and keep that momentum you have when you're running and jumping while you're doing things like healing and reviving. Oh my god, I just got bodied. Okay, anyways, you know what I'm trying to say. So momentum carrying is something that also applies to things like Super Brain's kick. So if you were to jump and then use Super Brain's kick and continuously jump, you'd be able to maintain the momentum, and you're able to travel amazing lengths with Super Brains. And similarly, beam jumping, as I previously mentioned, is a technique you can learn on YouTube channels like CrookTM. He teaches how to do beam jumping at all 3 levels, basically. So when you're learning, when you're starting to get more advanced, and you know, ultimately when you need to engage and disengage combat, you can use beam jumping as the means for that. So it enables P shooters who are already a very fast class with their hyper to become so much faster, because you can cross map travel when you just throw your beam bomb. You enter hyper, throw a beam bomb, and walk forward, and you can just fly across the map. It's crazy. As Babyla would put it, you glide very elegantly. So other things that might relate to game sense are knowing how many shots it takes to kill an enemy. So say I'm continuing to play Flower, I'd want to go for like 9 to 10 shots on a scientist, maybe 10 to 11 on like a soldier, and then I would know the kill is secured, so I can either stop shooting, start reloading, put down my Flower, revive people. There's like, when you know how many shots it's going to take to kill the enemy, or I guess you should say vanquish, then you're able to play around that knowledge more effectively, if that makes any sense. So say Agent P. If you hit 4 headshots on somebody, that's pretty much a kill for over half the cast on the zombie team. And so when you're playing the game and you're learning, if you happen to see someone who's a quote-unquote star player, for lack of a better term, or you want to look up the tricks on your own, you'll find that these small little, I guess I could keep calling them tricks, small little details you can implement into your game that will actually really impact you. So most of the best players I know beam jump, you know, so if you know the tech, you can pull it off pretty good. Also, momentum carrying applies to reviving, as I just did right there. So you could see I'm putting these into practice. But to To elaborate more on what star players are, in my opinion, I'll have to move on to my next point, number 7. So when I say star players, I'm not just trying to inflate people's egos and say that these are the best players in all of the game and they're going to carry you to the win, because that's simply not true. For lack of a better term, a star player is someone who is consistently at the top of leaderboards, and typically it's going to be by a wide margin. So say there's somebody with 57 kills at the end of a turf takeover, and then the next best guy has 19. Well, obviously the guy with 57 is performing really well in what could likely be a a shorter match. Because typically your average player will end up with around 40 or maybe 30, 20, in that range, in that ballpark. But the people who are able to consistently get like 50, 60, 70, 80, hundreds, you know, like those are the people who are considered, in my opinion at least, because from what I've observed in my years playing this game, those are going to be the star players. And so much of the keys to a successful team, if you are a star or you're on somebody who you notice is like leading the game, most kills in the lobby, if you can play around them or play with your team, if you are the star, you're going to see yourself succeed a lot more, because when the other opponents are focused on you or your teammates instead of you, and you're the star, you're just eliminating their whole team, like basically how I'm in the Sunflower Gnome Bomb game, you can notice that their team will just start to collapse because the star can put out all the work. And I'm not saying just throw yourself at them. I'm obviously saying like you're going to want to keep improving, and eventually maybe you can become the star player. But helping the best players on your team to succeed and putting them in a position where they're able to contribute way more than they would be alone is going to help you win a lot more. So to shut down star players who are on the enemy team and maybe doing well, an important thing is for the team to respond to them, because alone, star versus star, if your star's losing, you know, you're in a tough spot. But if you can use things like Chomper's Goop or Citron's EMP, you know, the engineered sonic grenade, to CC the star and start to irritate them, get in their heads, playing more of a mental game at that point. Even though it's PVZ, there's a lot of complex things that can go into it. If you're able to shut down the enemy team star player, you're way more likely to win, because then it becomes a game of your star and the whole team as a unit fighting against a bunch of uncoordinated people. And it sounds a lot easier than it is, I know, but people don't realize the power and the potential of things like mastering Goop and mastering the sonic grenade, you know, like stunning people at the perfect times and using it to disrupt the enemies is something that is very undervalued, I feel like, because a lot of the people gravitate towards Soldier and Pea Shooter, who, whilst Pea Shooter has a grenade, like the bean bomb that can blow a group of people up, it can't like disrupt them, it can't stun them, you know. So Garden Warfare 2, while it is a 12v12 game, there can be so many impactful plays that can be made by the star players. And if you're the star player, you got to be looking out for all your little guys under you. You know, you can't just be letting them all die on their own. You know, you got to be trying to like play with your team, I feel like, because that helps so much more in terms of actually winning and dominating the game, especially in the way I'm doing right now with this 96 kill Sunflower match. So to, I guess, condense that information down, to simplify it, you're going to want to be playing with your star or play your best as the star, and then on top of that, you're going to want to shut down the enemy team star with any means necessary, whether it be Goop Shrooms or, I don't know, Freezy bots, frozen characters, anything to disrupt them and make them get in their own heads. That is how you're going to start winning. That is how you're going to start making these players who you would think would dominate start to like second guess and start to slow down, you know. So that works for a lot of other games too. You'll find that in games, I guess to quote, or not quote, but to reference Overwatch, people get really upset when they get slept by Ana, Sleep Dart, or they can't be healed because of her anti-heal grenade. The utility that these characters provide are able to shut down people who can be potentially you know, dominating the game, to counter them in a way. So I guess with all 7 of these points down, I could start moving on to my conclusion. So, to conclude and finally wrap up this almost 30-minute long video, mastering each of the tips I listed in this video can seriously impact how much you improve in Garden Warfare 2. But I feel like the one thing I did leave out is just how much importance it is to just have fun, you know? Because as corny as it sounds, being good or bad doesn't really matter if the game doesn't make you happy, you know? So for the longest time, I held on to Garden Warfare 2 because I was good at it. I was one of the best players on the PC platform, but none of that meant anything for months because I wasn't really having fun, always being at the top and being uncontested. And then when I was contested, I'd be losing to the exact CC I was talking about earlier with, you know, the goop and the stuns and the fire damage, mid-air burrows, things that really just started to be unfun for me to play against, you know? Unavoidable deaths were just too much of a problem for me, and I started losing that charm I had with this game, you know? But for the newer community members, the people who I believe will be the audience watching these kinds of videos, I think you gotta just enjoy it while it lasts, because I'll be honest, this game was really fun for me, and I met a lot of great people that I still talk to this day by playing it. And I hope all these tips that I've been listing can actually take you guys to the next level and make even better Garden Warfare players than maybe I was, you know? I guess share this video with your friends as well, because one of the things that made Garden Warfare in this community so special for me was the friendships I made. And that's what kept me in it for so long, on top of me just feeling like I had to because I was good at the game. The friendships I made, again, this sounds really corny when I'm saying it, but seriously, I think it makes a huge difference in how long you're willing to play the game and how much you're willing to commit to getting better. Because, you know, everyone likes playing with friends. It brings everyone up. So, for the rest of this video, I guess you can watch my Sunflower gameplay as I get 96 kills. And this has been JustCallMeTotal's guide on how to improve in Garden Warfare 2. Peace out.
Yeah, let's go, man. Let's go. Fuck your family and your mother. I wanna kill your mother. Kill your mother and your whole family. Your whole family is gonna die. There you go. Vanquishes? Did you just get the most vanquishes ever? Yeah, I could beat that score.